How effective do you think companies will be at dragging people back into the office?
It's very difficult to sell people on the new behavior, but once they've experienced the new behavior, the old behavior seems ridiculous. An example I always gave of that is nobody minded buying CDs when it was the only way you could listen to music. Then you had downloads, and of course the music industry resisted this furiously. The whole idea of downloading, even to the point of not making it possible for people to download things legally. And the problem there is once you'd experienced downloads, the CD seemed suddenly ridiculous. We didn't mind commuting in the same way when we just thought this is just a necessary part of
Work is the place you go to.
It's just work is the place you go to. It's Wednesday, it's Friday.
Yeah.
So I go into the office. The time you spend on the train, the time you spent cleaning your teeth and getting up early and doing your ablutions didn't feel like a waste of time because it was just what you had to do. The second you've experienced the alternative, which is get out of bed, put a cardigan over your pajamas and click join meeting, all of that kind of palaver suddenly seems twice as painful.
So this is a phenomenal perspective. We didn't realize the cost or the inefficiency of what we did before in terms of commuting for many jobs because it just seemed like this is the only way. Very few people had remote jobs, especially in base countries like UK, US, Europe, etc. Now when people have learned that, hey, I don't need to commute due to COVID, a lot of my job actually can be done remotely, and now raised the alertness of why have I been traveling 1 to 2 hours each way to work, which I'm not paid for to commute back for when I can do most of my job at home. And that's the big hurdle companies are having to get over when they're trying to recruit people back to the labor force. And that's really what, when a behavior changes, you see the pros and cons of past behavior. And then you're able to say, wait, I really want to go back to that, or I don't want to go back to that.
And I got one of those fantastic Quooker taps that produces boiling water on demand. It was difficult to persuade my wife to get one, but once you have one of those things, waiting for a kettle to boil feels somehow weirdly Victorian.
Prehistoric,
ridiculous.
yeah.
Interesting with electric cars. The latest data seems to suggest that although there's a huge amount of resistance to electric cars, the people who make the move generally don't go back.
So now we see that, right? We see that shift. I do want to warn people, there is a backlash from corporate, and sometimes corporates are stuck in their ways and they have leases that they sign. I really don't get that part where they can shave off a lot of expenses, but that's a whole nother conversation. I understand the synergies, and I also understand a lot of times, unfortunately, when people are working remotely, a lot of people are not doing the work they should be doing, and that's making the argument difficult. So it's like, hey, I have to have you back in office so I can watch you and make sure you're actually working. I think whoever's really trying to keep their remote job, when you're at home, when you're working remotely, make sure you're knocking it out, because the tide is shifting back into corporations and big organizations having more leverage because the job market is weakening. And therefore, if there's more supply of workers than there are demand for workers, they're just going to start picking off people who are willing to come into the office, who are willing to work extra, etc. So make sure you make yourself stand out and make sure people are not abusing this remote work, or it may be gone. Because if they have the choice and they can say, hey, we don't need that many people anymore, due in part to AI, now they can say, hey, I'm only going to pick people who are these types of workers and who want to come into the office, and everybody who wants to work remotely. There may not be that many jobs anymore to pick from for working remotely. My tip, take it or leave it. If you're working remotely, make sure you're knocking it out every single day, especially if you like working remotely. Why? Therefore, they can make an exception to the rule for you, or they can see, hey, enough people are really knocking it out remotely where we don't need to go back to the office. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave that below in the comments, and make sure you subscribe to my channel, Tiny Advisors, for more content on leadership, business, and investing. God bless you.